Okay, you guys, I am so excited to have my good friend Ryan Lee. He is the founder of Rewind Bars. He's got more than 22 years of health and fitness background, master's degree in exercise physiology. He's created some of the world's fastest workout videos, all of these amazing I don't even know, foundation, all these amazing attributes that you've accomplished, Ryan. But most importantly, you are really committed to helping people,
Yeah.
people feel good, right? And having
Hmm.
fun while doing it.
Right.
And so I am really, really excited to share Ryan with you guys because he was recently on a podcast called The Good Life Project. And in that, I heard him talking about his story, reversing an autoimmune condition, and how he did that while running like multiple large businesses. He's got 3 incredible kids, and you are a super dad. Like,
Actually,
I
four.
love
Actually, I
4.
have four.
Oh,
I have four. I have four.
holy cow! Like, I don't know how you do it. I've got 2, and I'm like, we're good. 4 incredible kids, and like, I'm always reading about how, Brian, you're like, yeah, we're coming home from, I don't know, one of your kids' practices, and we stop at the track and run a few laps. Like,
Yeah.
you are so engaged and committed with your family and your kids, and it is really inspiring because being present with our families so important. So
Yeah.
you did this, you're present with your family, you are running these businesses, you're traveling all over, you've got a bunch of employees. Like, you are a very busy person, and we're all busy, right? It looks different for
Hmm.
each person, but we're all busy in life. Yet you also have this autoimmune condition
Hmm.
that's showing up. And also, I should mention, you lost your dad, I believe, right?
Well, it was actually it was my mom. It was
Yeah.
around now. It's almost 9 years. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. nine
so
years
like
ago.
a lot of things happening all at once, some
Hmm.
really great things, some really challenging things. And you end up with this autoimmune condition, or you're dealing with this autoimmune condition. And since then, you took a few important steps to begin reversing
Yep.
the symptoms and the autoimmune condition in your life. And I don't know if this was in your words, Ryan, but when I was listening to you, kept thinking like boundaries. You really got good at setting boundaries,
Yeah.
getting really clear and specific on what you need. And we talk about in this course, like creating what's this one desired outcome? What's the one thing in life that's really, really important, and how our actions and our thoughts aligning with that? And obviously there's more than one thing that's important in our life, but usually when we get really specific with something, we may say we want 5 things, but all 5 of those kind of trickle in, right? When we get really clear on what we
Hmm.
need. So tell us a little bit about what were you experiencing with your autoimmune condition? Give us like a little bit of a portrait of what was going on with your health, and also all of the things you were balancing in your life. Let's start
Yeah.
there.
Okay. So there was a lot, and I'll try to, I'll tell the story, but I'll try to keep things practical so people
Yeah.
listening maybe could benefit from some of the stuff that I learned over the years. So just as a backstory, I was a fitness guy. I mean, as you said, my master's is exercise physiology. I was captain of my college track team. It's state champion. I had all this great stuff, and I was always fit. And then, I had my first kid, and then my second, and my third, and my fourth, and it starts. I know you talk a lot about like gluten-free eating, but back then, 15 years ago, and the kids were having the chicken fingers, and
Yeah.
I'd grab a chicken finger here, and I would just kind of, all of a sudden, it starts again a pound or two heavier, and before I knew it, I was like close to 200 pounds. Now, some people might be like, oh, that's not that bad, but I'm only 5'8", and I used to be, in the 160s, and so, but it was kind of this tidal wave of awful stuff happened. So between the stress of, having 4 kids is a lot, and they were all just 2 years apart. So my oldest was at one time was 5, and our fourth was born. So my wife and I would go out, and we'd have 2 double strollers. It was insane.
Oh my
It was,
God.
I don't know how I really, looking back, I don't know how we did it. But and then I was taking on a lot of stuff with work, and I was kept starting new companies, and I was traveling a lot to speak at different events, because that was the old way. You go to an event, you speak, you pitch, you sell your product, and that was making me money.
Yeah.
And then I started staying out late and looking at this almost as an escape. And I was drinking when I'd go out. I'm not a drinker, but I would drink a lot when I go out to these events.
Yeah.
And then my mom got sick. She was diagnosed with cancer, and within 3 months passed away. And she was only 63.
Mhm.
Um, And then we had this big nutrition company I had started, and all of a sudden our number one promoter market, like affiliate, basically left and started a competing company and took everyone with them. So we went from this business that was generating 7 figures a month to 7 figures in debt within like a couple of months. So between my mom passing away, the stress, the weight gain, and all of a sudden now millions of dollars in debt from, never having to worry about money over the years, it just put all this stress and pressure on me. And I was trying to eat right, but I know I wasn't. I was trying to exercise, but I wasn't doing a good job. And the first thing it kind of manifested is I was playing tennis and my foot was killing me. I'm like, and to the point where I couldn't even play. And I went to the podiatrist. He said, I took x-rays. I don't see anything wrong with you. I went to the orthopedist. I went to a chiropractor. I went to physical therapy. I went to my general practitioner. I went to like 6 or 7 doctors. No one could figure it out. It was getting worse. And then I woke up and one morning I couldn't move my fingers. I'm like, what the heck? It was so stiff.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's something going on. And then
Sausage fingers.
oh my God. And my feet were swollen. And I was talking to a good friend of mine who's an ENT. And he said, you know what? You should go see a rheumatologist. So I booked an appointment to a rheumatologist he recommended. And within 10 seconds, he said, okay, tell me about your symptoms. And then I took my shoes off and he looked at my feet. He goes, you have psoriatic arthritis. I said, what? He said, it's an autoimmune disorder. I'm 100% sure we're going to take the blood test. He's like, and it's impossible to diagnose a specific thing because of the way the blood test, you can't get that. But he's like, but it's one of those types of things. And I'm 99% sure that's what it is. Yeah. And I said, all right, what do I do? He said, well, we're going to put you right away on methotrexate, which is chemo. I said, well, I don't want to go on chemo. He said, well, we don't know what's causing it. So we got to kill all these cells. I'm like, but there's something causing it. I said, I'm under stress. My mom died. I'm financially stressed. I gained weight. He's like, none of that matters. We just got to kill all those cells. And then he's like, and he said, yeah. And I said, well, I knew enough. I'm like, well, autoimmune, isn't it inflammation? Isn't it something with diet? He said, nope, that's not going to do anything.
Wow.
And I said, but he said, you just make sure you're not near people who get sick. I said, well, what do you mean? I said, I have 4 kids. There's always someone has a sniffles. There's always something going on. He's like, well, you're going to have to come in every week and we have to do blood tests. I was like, this doesn't sound right. I said, I said, can I try to figure, he said, you know what, take a couple weeks, go try other things. He's like, and then come back and we'll get you on the chemo. Yeah. And that was 5 years ago. Haven't been back. I'm not on any medication. Everything I did was kind of figuring it out myself. Reducing, and it's funny, I never used that word, but you said it before and it perfectly suits it. Boundaries. Yeah. Setting boundaries in my life with starting and kind of dividing them into the different buckets of the financial stuff. Okay, let me sell off companies, let me close down things that would take up a lot of my time and focus on one thing. The family, which is the most important. And from that, for 5 years, I said no to every single I didn't travel once. I said, family is the most important thing. I'll sacrifice the money and I'm going to focus on my family. And I didn't, and I get asked every weekend to speak and I said no to everything. So that was another thing I just said, and I haven't missed one birthday party, one dance recital, one sports event. And I coach everything for my kids.
Super dad. You are amazing.
Yeah, I try. And just stress. I found a great reflexologist. I go like 3-4 times a week. It's my hour to just kind of just unwind. And it feels really good on my joints. Yeah. I work out every single day, 20 minutes a day. I don't go to the gym. I do it at home. Really simple routine I could follow. And in 20 minutes, I'm done. And nutritionally, just now at first I did a complete elimination. I eliminated the big causes of inflammation, which was gluten, dairy, and sugar. Yeah. And almost immediately I started to feel better. And again, I'm just talking about personally. Yeah. I couldn't sustain it. I found it was really, really hard going out to dinner and seeing my friends have like a chocolate chip cookie and I'm just sitting and I found myself being really miserable. And then, so it started to work really well. And then I fell off the wagon hard and and the weight started to creep up and all of a sudden I started to get a little bit of joint pain until about 2 years ago. I ballooned in weight. I gained even more than I ever weighed. And I started getting the symptoms again. I started getting sick, which I never get sick. And I said, that's it. Let me now get back to simplifying my health and especially my nutrition. And from then on, I said, I'm going to reduce the gluten, the dairy, and the sugar, but I'm not going to say I'm never, ever, ever going to eat it again.
Right.
and just giving myself permission to say, you know what, I choose to have that cookie, or I choose not to, or
Right.
I'm gonna, I'm not gonna have a beer, which I don't drink anyway, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna have a beer. So instead, if I'm gonna have a little gluten at the meal, I'll have it with a piece of bread or maybe dessert. So just being much more aware, but giving myself permission. Again, I'm not trying to, I don't tell anyone how to live their life. If you are 100% gluten free, 100% sugar free, 100% keto, if it works for you and you're happy and healthy, then I'm happy for you. I don't, but so,
Yeah.
and I know gluten, sugar, and dairy are not the greatest for you, but I sacrifice a little bit for my personal sanity. If you could stay gluten free, you should. If you could stay sugar free, you should. If you could stay dairy free, you should. And it's just been working for me. I started with winning the morning, having a bar in the morning, and that's what I created this company Rewind out of. So I'm on my good. It's all about staying consistent. My workout every day, eating well, having a good breakfast, carrying that momentum into lunch, reducing all the stress, and just putting my family first. And here
I
I
love
am.
that. I love that so much. I just came back from this mindfulness meditation workshop in New York City, actually. And I came home and 3 words came to me, which was presence, consistency, and fun. And I was like, that is my new life mission statement. And we're like, when we can be present with our body. So when you talk about like, you got off all these inflammatory foods and you were feeling so good, and now you're able to make conscious choices as to when you want to or choose not to eat them.
Right.
I'm sure you're connecting with your body. If you feel terrible, more than likely the conscious choice is to take care of yourself, right? But if you're like, I feel okay.
I know, you get so good at it, you get dialed in where, like the other night we went out to eat and we go to this, and my wife said, let's go to this pizza place for blah, blah. But it's an old school pizza place. And when I'm telling you that's all they have is pizza, you look at their menu and it's just pizza. There's not even salad. There's actually salad you could put on a pizza, but that's it.
Right. Yeah.
So I had some pizza and what's like, I'll have a slice of it, but I definitely had more than I should have. And the next day I felt bloated. My joints were achy. And I'm like, it's like a hangover. It was like a gluten hangover. I'm like, I can't do that again. So you kind of learn. But, there are a lot of times where I'll just make the choice. And it's also those 3 things you mentioned. And another big thing is planning ahead, knowing where you're going to be. And even knowing that, okay, if I know we're going to a pizza place tonight with friends and that's the only thing they have, let me at least eat really, really well the whole day. Let me have a really good salad for lunch and no gluten and just water and have an extra good workout leading up to that. So if I have a slice or 2, maybe it offsets it a little bit instead of living this other thing. But yeah, you start to know your body. You start to know what feels good. And after a while, like the next time we're at the place, I'm like, I'm not going to have that much because I remember how I felt the next day.
Totally. Yep. Yeah. It's all about connecting to the body and listening. And we're all, like you said, we're all different. We're all unique, right? Like I couldn't eat a piece of pizza to save my life for years because it would knock me down in my bed for a week. Different story right now, right? Which is really fun to have a little bit of space, but it's all about the cells regenerating and healing and where you are in that process and making peace with that process too. Like this is where I'm at. What a gift that you can heal through the foods that you're eating and by creating boundaries. You quickly mentioned like, okay, I focus on my family. I like sold off these businesses. That is a big deal. Like that was like all in one quick sentence that I think, but for someone to actually say, I'm going to make a choice to sell off all of these businesses that you've worked so hard to do. I'm going to focus on my family. I'm asked to present every weekend and I'm not going to walk us through the thought process of getting to the point where you felt good about doing that, because that can be challenging for a lot of people. What I should do, what I shouldn't do.
Yeah, for me, it's my family has always been my life.
Yeah.
Like that's it. That's and again, everyone is different, and some people say, my religion and God and whatever works for you.
Right.
Awesome. I don't put my beliefs on anyone else. For me, my family is above God. My family is everything. They're my life. They're the only things I know that's tangible. Like, so it wasn't hard at all. And I started to feel myself for a couple of years, even though I didn't realize it at the time. I started to kind of feel myself drifting off of my true purpose. I spent 6 years right out of college working at a children's rehab hospital. And then I was a gym teacher in the Bronx, and going from my whole day of just helping kids, disadvantaged kids with disabilities and spina bifida, to now like selling internet stuff. and getting sucked into that world and drinking and staying out late was I got so far off of my purpose and putting that stuff almost above my family. I'm like, I need to get back. So it wasn't hard. And I told my wife, like, we're probably going to sacrifice some money and sell some, like whatever, but this is the most important thing. Cause on my deathbed, I don't want to have regrets. No one is on their deathbed saying, you know, I wish I did a bigger launch, or I would.
Yeah,
No,
totally.
like, if it's your last, if this is your last day, what are you going to do? You're going to go rally affiliates for a product launch? No, you're going to be with your family. So that's it. And losing my mom was a really big wake up call. Like I said, she was only 63 and we were really close, and she was so close to my dad and my family. And her whole life was having kids and then grandkids. That was her whole life. And, the fact that she only got to spend a little bit of time with them kind of killed me. And it was very centering, though, knowing that we all have a finite amount of time. We don't know what happens after, but I'm going to make the best of it. And one thing that will not happen is my kids, when I'm gone, my kid, they say, oh, tell me about your dad. Then I'm going to be like, I didn't really know him that well. Oh, he was never around. Hell no. They're not going to say that. And I don't care if we have to live in a studio apartment or whatever it is. They're not going to say that about me because I'm going to be there for everything. And that was it. That was it. I mean, when simple. Simple. When you simplify and say, here's my big why.
Yeah.
Everything is run through that filter. Is this bringing me every opportunity? Is this bringing me closer or further away from my, and it's also, you'd said, I'm really busy. And this as well with two kids, being a mom, that if you want something done, ask like the busiest person you know. Like my wife is insanely busy. And if I want something done, I'm just going to ask her because she's going to get it done. Like, we have no choice. If I want to be home by 4:00 when all the kids are off the bus and I coach baseball and basketball and flag football, and I go to all my kids' things. And even tonight, I'm driving one of my daughters to gymnastics from 6 to 8:30 at night. I won't get home till 9. But if I know I have to be done by a certain time, I'm going to get it done. That's it. And guarding your calendar. You said boundaries. You have to figure out when you're best mentally, physically. We all have our own internal clock. For me, it's morning. So I don't have any interviews, things like this. We didn't start this till noon. I never book anything before noon because that's my creative and my writing time and when I get to kind of push the business forward. And then from 12 to 3 is like this stuff. And then I'm done.
So when's your health time? Is that just embedded throughout the day? You exercise, wake up in the morning early and exercise? Like, how do you fit the self-care into all of that?
The workout is usually anywhere from, the nutrition obviously is always. I always have the same morning routine.
Yeah.
The exercise, the great thing is since it's only 20 minutes and it's at home, I fit it in whenever I can. So usually around 4:30, the kids are starting to get home. And we almost have a little routine where my two youngest are home. If they are home, they stay they're in my room while I'm working out. So I go on the treadmill and I do the push-ups and pull-ups. They sit on my bed. They're on the computer doing games and I'm doing the workout. So they're actually in the room while I'm working out and we'll talk while I'm working out.
Awesome.
If not, if they're away, then I'll do it at 4:30, or if something happens and I have to run around, then I'll do it at night. I'll put them to bed at, they'll go to sleep at 8:30, and then I'll do it from 8:30 to 9. It's just again, just 20 minutes. And that's it. And then I'm done.
We were just talking about that with Chris earlier this week, how, just a couple minutes at home, making it happen.
Yeah. And it's funny. And because our treadmill, I like it in our bedroom. But there are times like if my wife's doing something and she's in the bedroom and I don't want to bother her, what I'll do, I actually started doing now a 10-minute workout. So I'll grab a kettlebell, for people who don't know, it's almost like a little cannonball with a handle on it. I've been doing that for 20 years. And I'll go into like my son's room or downstairs and I'll set my timer for 10 minutes on my phone and a countdown clock. And every minute I'll do another 20 kettlebell swings. So I start off 20 kettlebell swings and then at the 9-minute do another 20 until it gets down to 1. So I've done 200 kettlebell swings in 10 minutes. I'm sweating. I'm good.
Amazing.
And as a trainer, it's funny. I used to get sucked into, you need an hour and plyometric, but as you start getting older, I'm 46 now. I don't need an hour and a half workout. Right. 15, 20 minutes, get your body moving, get your joints kind of oiled up and, greasing the groove and just break a sweat every day. And then that's all you need. If you like CrossFit, do CrossFit. If you like yoga, do yoga, but you don't need You don't need any one specific thing, and you'll
Right.
see what feels good.
I always tell people it's about movement. It's not even like hardcore exercise. Just get your blood flowing, because that's what helps to push the inflammation out when you've got a chronic symptom that you're trying to reverse, right? It just helps.
Absolutely. And make sure it feels good too, and make sure you enjoy doing it. And
Yeah.
that's why I know, even if there definitely doesn't, I don't feel like working out, but I'm like, it's 20 minutes. Like I
Yeah.
could do it. And I always fit in more stuff. So every day with our business, I do a morning huddle with Kate on my team every
Mhm.
morning. And if she's coming into the office, she drives in, it's like a 40-minute drive for her. I get on my phone and we do the huddle. And what's great is our office, it's 1 block away from a 9-mile wooded trail, all through the woods with
Gosh.
bridges. It's like a
Amazing.
dream. So I do the huddle while I'm walking in the trail, and I'll walk for half an hour in the morning. And and that's another thing. Even if you're not working out, doing all this stuff, just a 20-minute walk every day is one of the best things you could do for yourself, physically, mentally, spiritually. Just walk,
Yes.
just getting outside. You know what? If it's raining, put a friggin' hood on. I
Yeah.
mean, when I
Well,
ran track up in Ithaca College in upstate New York, we used to sprint in the snow. So little rain
Totally.
shouldn't stop you. Yeah.
I was on the cross country ski team at UNH, and we used to ski in the sand. So,
You know, you do what you got to do. And I do think, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I think in general, like, kind of getting soft. People are getting soft. They're with their kids. Don't do this, don't do that. My daughter is my 15-year-old competitive tennis player, sprained her ankle 2 weeks ago, and it happened on a Thursday night. Friday, she had 2 big tests, and I can't walk on it. I said, you know what we're gonna do? And my wife and I both agreed. You're going to school. You're taking the tests. I went to Walgreens in the morning, got her an ankle thing. I had crutches from my other daughter who had a torn meniscus. I gave her the crutches. I said, I'm going to walk into school. And she went in, we went to ice, and she was able to go into a different room. And they brought the test to her. And the nurses are like, why'd you bring her in? I'm like, what do you mean? Because she has tests to take.
Right.
And she didn't lose her leg.
Yeah.
She could, and in life, what happens? So if you're working and you're not going to go into work, your boss goes, that's all right. Like, the world's not going to stop for you. And sometimes you got to go through a little bit of physical, emotional pain. It's a life lesson. So,
well, it's this theme that I see, as I always like to say, be the change you wish to see in the family. There's Gandhi's famous quote, be the change you wish to see in the world. But what I am hearing from you is this constant theme of you really showing up to be the change you wish to see in the family, modeling for your kids, not only healthy lifestyle and being present with them and what it's like to helping them connect with their body, but also pushing through, setting goals, pushing through, being consistent, following through with what you're saying. It's so beautiful. I love it.
Absolutely. And it's lessons that we learned as a kid. And it's stuff that serves people well as you become an adult. And I really think, well, look, I hit the lottery with my parents. I mean, they were the most loving, supportive parents, really. They always felt like I could do anything. And that's why, as an entrepreneur is the hardest thing in the world. So you get your butt kicked on a daily basis, but that's why I have the confidence. I'm just going to get back up. Like, nothing's going to stop me. And I think you have to kind of approach life like that. All right, I got this autoimmune, boo-hoo, poor me. What do I have to do to fix it, to get better, and just keep moving forward? Not living, oh, poor me, pity me. Like, screw that. What choice do I have? What, am I going to give up? Hell no.
Totally. So when a number of years ago, I was at my lowest point, like bedridden, couldn't move, could barely talk. I didn't want to be alive. I didn't want to die, but I didn't want to be alive. I just wanted to be a whole and go away. And I remember my husband saying, Jenny, you have 2 choices. Keep doing what you're doing. Think bad about yourself. Be sad. Feel the self-deprivation, which when you're that sick, it's easy to do. Or make a choice to think differently and let's do this. There are only 2 choices. Keep doing what we're doing or change it, right?
Yeah.
And it sometimes it's so simple, but sometimes it's difficult to see in the moment.
It's I always say it's simple, but it's not always easy.
Yeah, exactly.
As well. Like, it's simple to say, okay, no more gluten.
Yeah.
But it's not always easy.
Yeah.
But you do your best, and you know what? And when you screw up, and we all screw up, and we all mess up, and we all you learn from it, and you move on.
Yeah.
And that's it. You don't, and if something bad happens, what I say is give yourself 10 minutes and get mad, get angry, get pissed off. Then you get over it and you move on and you leave it behind.
I remember you saying that. I love that.
Yeah, it's true.
Feel it, move on. Yeah.
Yeah. But some people say, oh, they get so kind of woo woo and be like, oh, it's you shouldn't be angry. You should accept it and blah blah blah
Yeah.
and life and it's
Right.
it's blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Screw that. You
Ooh.
know, it's everything's great. No, it's not great. Like I got
Oh my
screwed. This
gosh.
happened. I'm
Yes.
pissed off.
Yeah.
Give yourself. I think if you could at least give yourself that permission to get angry for a little bit, then you at least move on. But to suppress it, then they're the ones who are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe Johnny was a serial killer. He looks so nice and calm because he suppressed everything and then he exploded."
Yeah. That's so awesome. I love it. So you talk, Ryan, about starting the morning off right?
Uh-huh.
And you're like, this is
Win the morning.
win the morning, right?
Yes.
And it's this consistency that I'm like, the more little things, little tiny steps that we're consistent with can make such a big difference. And you
Yep.
mentioned a minute ago that you have a very consistent routine that you do in the morning. Like your
Yep.
mornings are down. Tell us about that.
Well, one thing I do is just at least in the morning, wake up, just a couple of joint mobility things with my, because I'm at the computer a lot. And when you're at the computer a lot, your neck starts kind of, I get neck pain. So just doing just right before I go in the shower, even like 2 minutes of just moving, kind of getting my joints ready for the day. And nutritionally, and then mentally, just coming from a place of gratitude, like thankful for my wife, for my kids, they're healthy, we have a great house, moving on. And then nutritionally, big glass of water, my Rewind bar, and some supplements.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, that's every morning for me. There are times where if I'm up sometimes I'll wake up really early, like 4:30 in the morning, and I'm like, what am I? And then I'll do maybe a workout. I'll do the 10 or 20 minute with the kettlebells or push-ups in the morning. But it's pretty much the same thing, the joint mobility stuff, the big glass of water, always have a big glass of water because you get dehydrated as you sleep and you feel so much better with that big glass of water, just like kind of feeding your cells. And whatever supplements everyone takes, whatever works for them. And I have my bar. And I know there are some people who do intermittent fasting. I tried that for a while and all I did was freaking think about food all day, the whole morning.
And when you're tired, hungry, and stressed is when you crave other food. Truly.
It was torture. It was torture. I don't know how people are like, oh, I love it. It's the worst thing in the world. Again, if it works for you, good for you. And I totally understand the science behind it and the benefits, and it makes sense. Didn't work for me. So for me, having the bar, like, all right, I got 140 calories in. I have 7 grams of fiber. I feel good. I feel energized. Let me go out and now let me feel good about the day and not think about food all day. And that's it. That's my routine. And then for me in the morning, business-wise, and usually in the morning, there's 2 or 3 of my kids up. So this morning I made one breakfast. The other one, I got her lunch ready because she wanted me to warm something up and put it in the thermos. So, that stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes I drive my oldest kid to high school in the morning, which is nice. We kind of spend some time together in the morning. Then I go to the coffee shop and spend 2 hours just writing my emails to my list and communicating and like that's my kind of creative time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I head over to my office here and do stuff.
Your beautiful office with force all surrounding. That's incredible.
It's fun. Yeah. It's all of our products. This is like a little kind of office I have where I do my interviews and we have some extra stuff. And of course I always have my records behind me. And there's a bigger space out there where we do all of our fulfillment, all of our bars are out there. So we have everything in one place, which I love because that was another cause of stress when we had our physical product company. Everything was in a warehouse and we couldn't really see anything. No one really cares as much about you and your business as you. So the fact that I see my team out there and we get, labels are printed sometimes within seconds and people are like, oh my God. And they'll get it the next day. Like, how are you even doing this? Because we really care. But when it's an outsourced warehouse, they're like, they got 50 clients, they get to it. So, and we write handwritten notes for everyone. So it feels good doing it this way. That's
incredible. And everyone in my program is getting a box of bars that are on their way. But tell us a little bit. All right. Well, you guys, the Rewind bars, which I've shared a little bit about them with the team, but the reason I love them so much is twofold. Number one, no inflammatory foods in them. Obviously, for me, that's like a requirement. I won't touch anything else that doesn't have that. But number two, you have so many superfoods in there. It's not like, because before this, the RX bar was kind of my go-to, which is great. It had some protein and it like didn't have the inflammatory stuff. But there was no like all the greens and the super
Yeah.
antioxidants, like everything else is packed in here. So tell us a little bit just what's in your bar and why did you choose to make it that way?
Yeah, well, that was the thing when I knew for me simplicity in the morning with the kids. I tried to do smoothies. I didn't have time, and it's messy and the blender and waking up people. So I went on a mission. I'm like, what about a bar? And I couldn't find a bar that again, for me it was the autoimmune, so it couldn't be
Yes.
inflammatory. So
Yeah.
immediately every single protein, just about every protein bar was out because they all used whey protein.
Yeah.
Um, and the ones with pictures of cookies and cake, and it's all sugar, alcohol, and
Yeah, exactly.
sucralose. They're like, oh, only 1 gram of sugar. Yeah, but it's 85 grams of sugar alcohol. You're in the on the toilet all day, and then or it's like filled with artificial sweeteners. So that's not good for you.
Yeah.
Or the ones like an RX bar, which are fine, but to be honest, between you and I and everyone watching, I don't like the way they taste. I think they
Yeah.
taste pretty bad. Um, and then there are the green bars, which are good, but they usually don't have any protein and they taste like
Mhm.
lawn.
Ugh,
Um, so I'm like, why can't there be something that has greens, that has fruit, that tastes good, that's not 35 grams of sugar, that has some protein, that has some fiber? And that's where I went on the mission to say, why can't I create something that has all of that and it makes you feel good? But most importantly, it had to taste good because I wouldn't have it every day if it didn't taste good. And
yeah.
it took us like 8, 9 months of back and forth with our formulator and the ingredients and getting the nutrition and lower the sugar here and add this to finally we're like, that's it. And it's been
And
good, and the
it's so
response has been great.
good.
Thank you.
It's
No,
so good.
yeah, it tastes really good. The response has been phenomenal. So we're really, really happy with the way it
My
came out.
dad had one. He's like, "Can you get me 10 boxes?" He was like, because he travels a lot. He does like, he goes down to South America and goes fishing. When you
Mm,
travel, it's always a challenge to stay and
absolutely.
eat this way. And so, one of the things I teach people is get some really good clean bars, which are
Mhm.
difficult to find. So these are so amazing because you're getting your greens, you're getting your superfoods, or taste delicious.
Yeah.
Literally everyone I have given, which I got a bunch of bars and I was just like handing them out to friends and they were like, these are so good. Where do I get them? So if you guys are listening, you're going to love them when they show up. They're amazing. And I
Yeah. Thank
really,
you.
really, really appreciate, Ryan, so much that you've walked your talk and healing yourself with your autoimmune, right? Like you know what it takes, you know how important diet and nutrition is, and that you are in integrity following through with that with your product. To me, that's everything, because a lot of companies, will start off small. I'm not saying you're starting off small, but they'll start off small and they'll be really in integrity and then they'll sell out. And then like all of a sudden, even if the ingredients are the same, the quality is totally changed. Like
Hmm.
it makes such a big difference. And knowing
Yeah.
that the founder and the owner of a company understands the true importance because he walks that talk for his health it's just key. It's everything.
Well, no, I appreciate that, and it's I always wanted to have. I wanted to have. If I was going to do this, it had to be a bar I'm proud of, and a bar I would give my family, and my
Yeah.
kids love it. Now, from a business perspective, it's not always the smartest because it's really expensive for us to produce to have all these
Totally.
ingredients. So
Yeah.
there's not really much, if any, profit. But you know what? I feel good about it. We have employees where people are loving the bar. It's helping them kind of simplify their morning, and they're taking it on hikes and on the road. Even well, I won't date this to say when we're recording, but we're going on vacation next week with my family, and I'm lucky it's my company, so I'm going to take a bunch of boxes with me. So I know every day I'm covered. I know I'm going to always have breakfast. I know I'll be able to have a snack. I'm going to give it
Yes.
to my mother-in-law, my brother. They all love it too. So it
It's so
feels
awesome.
it is nice because and whether it's my bar or if you like RX or whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if you at least find something that you can take with you that you don't feel that panic. And I think that's what happens. People leave the house and they don't know where they're going to be, and they're starving, and the only option is an awful vending machine with just crap.
Right.
And you
Right.
feel and you crash. So
Yeah.
whatever the bar is, it's good. And look, I love a piece of fruit, but it's not always the easiest thing to carry around. Banana, 20 minutes later, the thing is freaking brown.
Yeah.
Try taking a bunch of bananas with you for 2 weeks. It's not
Right.
gonna.
Yeah. Not
It's
gonna
not
happen.
gonna. No, it's not gonna happen. So
Well,
and
it
I keep
is.
boxes in my car. Yeah.
Exactly. I was just going to say, you won't find, I always have bars in my bag. I always have bars in my car. Like with me being prepared so that you aren't tired. Like if you are tired, stressed and hungry, you've got something to reach to versus when I was starting this and I'd be like, okay, no sugar, but I wouldn't be prepared. And then I'd be like, stop at the gas station and be like, I'm going to get a Twix bar and I'm going to eat it really fast and pretend like it didn't happen because if I eat it fast, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I feel terrible.
And a Twix bar is pretty good too.
Yeah.
I'll tell you though, mine though is Reese's peanut butter cup. Woo. Well, I used to, when I was at my worst, after I was diagnosed with the autoimmune, I got better, and then I started kind of crashing. Every night, my weakness, it was like my crack, was M&Ms. I would go to the supermarket a couple times a week and buy like a medium-sized bag of M&Ms, and I would have a bowl and fill them, and I would just watch TV every night. And I look back, I'm like, my God, I'm like, oh, it's just some M&Ms. I mean, I was handfuls of M&Ms, just shoving them in my mouth. Now, I'm not saying I never have M&Ms now, but I don't buy them at the house. And the only time I have them is if I go to a movie, I'll have a little thing of M&Ms with some popcorn because you can't go see a movie without popcorn and M&Ms. That's a rule. It's written there. It's written there somewhere. But you just we went off topic.
I love it. I love it. So to this day, I'm curious, like a lot of people with autoimmune, they, meaning like doctors or other people, will say, you can't heal an autoimmune condition. I've heard that so many times. You can't heal an autoimmune condition. You're stuck with it. If you have it, you're going to be with it the rest of your life. I have experienced differently personally, but sometimes also say things go into remission and they come back. Like, how do you're able to, with an autoimmune condition, you're able to have a lot of flexibility in your life.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Yeah. Now, that's why I never use the words cured.
Healed.
Yeah, I'll say maybe healed or even maybe reversed.
Yeah.
But it's always there. Even like my joints are really bad. Now I don't have any more pain or swelling in my feet. That's all gone. But I do sometimes get a little bit of stiffness in my hands, especially like if I have more gluten. And I notice it more, my type of autoimmune with the arthritis, with the weather. When I'm almost like a dog. I know when a storm is coming. And when there was a few weeks ago, it was like raining for 2 weeks straight. And I was definitely achy. Like I could feel it, the inflammation was kind of coming, the stiffness. So that's how it affects me a little bit. I'll get it in my joints and it starts to get me tired. That was when I was deep in my autoimmune, like heavy before I was even diagnosed. It was the joint pain. And for me, it was exhaustion. I would take 2-hour naps in the middle of the day and then wake up and still be tired. So once in a while it'll kind of come back a little bit more, but, and my joints are not 100%, but it was so bad. I couldn't even snap my fingers before. It was that painful. So I'm feeling great. I could play tennis. I could do sports. It doesn't affect my life. Sometimes, like if it's a hard can, it'll be a little stiffer.
Yeah.
But it's little things like that. And it also reminds me to just stay on the right path.
Yes.
And that's it.
Say.
Yeah.
What I feel from you is gratitude. When you're talking about, like, even when you're sharing, like, sometimes the symptoms still come up, I'm feeling the sense of just like gratitude that that's all that's there. And you know exactly what to do to fix it, right? Like, how to, like, okay, either the rain needs to go away or like, oh, I can eat a little bit cleaner or drink a little bit more water. Like, what you can do to support yourself. And it's not this, because the other thing I see with a lot of people is they'll be like, oh, my body's broken. The symptoms are back again. Like, this is never going to heal. And it's this downward spiral. And so we're always talking about like gratitude. What are you finding gratitude for? Your body's always showing up for you, but it's two very different perspectives. You may be experiencing the same symptoms, two different perspectives that will get you vastly different outcomes.
Right. It's, you can only control how you respond to the situation. And either I sit there and I live in a world of pity and woe is me, or I say, you know what? All right, I got a little stiffness, I got a little pain. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to do the best I can, and I'm going to be there so I can live a long time and enjoy time with my family. I mean, that's it. I'm alive. They're alive. They're doing good. I'm good. And I'm not going to have a pity party. It was definitely shocking when I was first diagnosed with it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to do any sports. Am I going to be like in a wheelchair? I didn't know, but. You deal with it, right? But I'm doing everything in my power to heal myself And then when I do have flare-ups and little things happen, I take it all in stride.
Yeah.
Because it could be, working for 6 years in a children's hospital and seeing all these kids pass away and I mean, hours and hours of grueling physical therapy. And we'd have kids with cerebral palsy who they're on their 18th surgery. Seeing that, I don't have it too bad. All right, I got a little stiffness in my joints. Okay, it's a little hard to open a jar sometimes. Big deal. So
Right.
I'm blessed to have had that experience because it gives me really unique perspective that most people have not had. So I am really thankful I had that experience, and I loved it. And I still keep in touch. This was 25 years ago. I still keep in touch with some of the kids. They're like in their 30s now, which is amazing.
I love that. For everyone that's listening, I remember when I met Ryan, and I can't even remember what I asked you to do, something we were talking about, and you were like, if I can help one person, I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your heart. That is your heart. And it's just, I'm so grateful to.
Well, no, thank you.
I'm grateful to be in your presence, truly.
No, stop it. But look, why else are we here?
Yeah.
Right? We're here to help people.
Exactly.
Yeah, money's great and all the other stuff is great. But at the end of the day, what's the point if you're hurting people? Like, help people. It feels so much better, and you have better success, and everything just is easier. So I never understood the other side of it. Like, why wouldn't you? But
right.
And you're doing great stuff with your programs too, Jenny.
Oh, thank you. So you guys, I want to wrap this back to the very start, which I mentioned this figuring out. I think you said, what's your bigger why or your big why? And I talk about like what's your one desired outcome, right? What is this one really important thing for you in life that if you're in alignment with, it just feels good, and all the other drama, all the other stuff going around doesn't really matter, right? And for you, Ryan, it really feels like it was family, and that like you gaining health also was a piece of your big why for your family. So you can be present with your family. So you can be engaged with your family. Is that, I'm taking.
So I can have energy, so I could be alive. I mean, when I went the diagnosis, I started getting better and I got worse again. It was, you know what it was? It was the joint pain that came back, and I was sick, and we just come back from vacation. I went to the doctor because my ears, everything was feeling awful. I was so bloated. And they the nurse took my blood pressure, and she said it was borderline borderline hypertensive, like like it was. I was like 2 points away from high blood pressure,
right?
Which then they were saying you need meds, and then that really scared me because I'm like, you know what? Even though I wouldn't want to, I could deal with joint pain. I'll suck it up, but you can't deal with a bad heart,
right?
Like, if you have a heart attack,
kind of necessary.
You can't like be like, oh, I'll deal with a heart attack. Like, I'll suck it up. No, you're gone.
Yeah.
So that really kind of scared me. I'm like, I'm only in my mid 40s. I got to do something. So that was, I need to be around for my kids, and I want to see grandkids. So that really scared me. And it was funny when I left that office, that was the day, that was the next morning. I said, here we go. And since then I've lost 35 pounds. I'm back to the same weight same weight and pant size I was in high school.
Wow.
And I feel like my blood pressure is back to, above normal. Like, I feel great. So, I'm never going back.
This while running like a really big company and supporting your family. Like you have a lot on your plate, and you're still able to manage all of this, which to me,
I think everyone can. I think if you have that hyper focus, and you think, and you focus on the big things, you don't get overwhelmed. Okay, I have this big thing to do. Let me break it down to these little steps, and let me just take one step at a time. But knowing that no matter what, by 3, 4 o'clock, whatever, I'm done. And I'm not going to listen to some of these people online that talk about, oh, you got to hustle, you got to work 24 hours. No, I still watch Netflix at night, and you got to recharge your batteries. You need a good night's sleep. And you'll get it done, but do focus on the big stuff. The stuff that's going to move forward, like with me, with my business, and getting the right teams to support, and be really resourceful. And you can get it done.
That's amazing. I love it. So I know, Ryan, everyone's going to ask me, where do I get the Rewind bars? Because they're going to show up at your house, and they're going to be like, but I don't see them at the grocery store. So,
they're not at the grocery store.
They're not at the grocery store. Where can we find them then?
Rewindtoday.com. We purposely, because they are expensive to create and to produce. So if we were in the stores, at least right now with this volume, we'd actually be losing about $1 a bar. So we can't do it. Unfortunately, I can't. I would love to, but we can't. So right now, just get it online. So we pass all those savings on to our customers. So it's rewindtoday.com.
Awesome. Cool. You guys are going to love these. Ryan, I'm so grateful. Thank you for showing up and sharing your
Thank you, Jenny.
wisdom with us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I wish everyone there the best, and just breathe. It's going to be okay.
It's all
Thanks.
good. I
Yep.
love it. All right, you guys have a
Thanks,
great
Jenny.
day. Bye-bye.